Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're into the third section now. Guys, if you have any questions, I'd like to start by opening the floor to you, just in case anybody has any questions about anything I covered in the last section. Do you guys get where I'm coming from, where I'm talking? I keep hammering this moral philosophy thing. You guys get that, right? It's only so that you have stronger boundaries and so that you have more resilience. One of the things that concerns me with things going in a toxically passive way is there are certain personality traits that carry across culture, and when we dial down for some of them, and it's millions of people, there are problems. And one of them is resilience. Like, people's resilience has gotten shit. Resilience is your capacity to deal with stress, your capacity to thrive in adverse conditions, and your mental toughness, generally speaking, is resilience. A toxically passive, consumeristic, pleasure-seeking, immediate gratification culture, obviously one of the first things that is going to go down is going to be resilience. People have asked me whether social media generates narcissistic personality disorder, and I would say probably not, no, but there is a constellation of traits that if you move up and down like a mixing board on a sound mixer, people are going to look and function as though they have narcissistic personality disorder. Low levels of resilience, low impulse control, a lack of ability to enforce your will on the world or on yourself. These are highly narcissistic and psychopathic traits. When it's affecting a whole culture of people and we move in a certain direction, that's when it becomes dangerous. I hope I don't sound like a middle-aged curmudgeon when I keep going on about boundaries and respect. I really hope I'm not turning into my grandfather. It's that, from my point of view, boundaries protect us from each other on a daily basis. Being well-mannered protects you from me and me from you. I might not be in a very good mood, but manners and good boundaries let me know that just because I'm not feeling good doesn't mean I don't have respect for you. I'm just in a low state right now. Does that make sense? That's why I keep coming back to these things. I don't consider myself a traditional conservative. However, sometimes when I'm talking, I'm thinking, I kind of sound like one a little bit, accidentally. So, if you guys, there's no questions at the moment?
Yeah, there's one.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yes, as one develops its own moral values and boundaries, most probably he or she will find him or herself ostracized by the society he or she lives in, as this society detests diversity in reality, especially in those moral aspects. Now, ostracism is something we fear because it's a sort of abandonment, especially, of course, with the work situation, the family, and we've seen so much pressures for people who are doing something different, especially in values. What's your opinion on how we create indeed this resilience and coping, or rather this strengths of character to make sure that we can cope with this ostracism?
Yeah. I mean, when I'm teaching clients to develop their boundaries and we work on their personal values, usually what happens is their boundaries increase and their personal values are being enforced. Their self-worth goes up. When the self-worth of an individual has gone up, there is usually turbulence within the tribal community because they were operating at one level, and it's like an airplane that's changed altitude. You can't now operate at the same level. And very unconsciously and very automatically, friction and confrontation is the result. If you are in a tribe with people who will ostracize you for displaying self-love and self-respect, that's not a tribe you want to be in anyway. And those people who would ostracize you for simply being able to say no are not people you should be associating with. I have a video. It's like one of the most popular videos I ever released on YouTube. I think it has like 1 million views now, where I just said, here's the simplest test for narcissistic personality disorder. It takes 15 seconds. Smile at the person and tell them the word no. That's it. That's it. If I go into a full-blown rage attack because you smiled at me and said no to an instruction, something is up, man. That's not a rational adult reaction to somebody simply saying, yo, I don't want to do that right now. Give me a lift, do this for me. No. No explanation required, just no. You don't have to be a dick about it. You don't have to be strong-arming people or being aggressive, you just smile and say no. Their emotional response to that tells you everything you need. We're talking specifically here to men, and particularly with the theme of protecting yourself against potentially toxic relationships with women. This is a good test early on. And not every woman who responds badly to this has full-blown narcissistic personality disorder or borderline personality disorder. She might just be an entitled little fucking brat. And it's not your job to help somebody mature, and you certainly can't help somebody mature through a sexually intimate relationship anyway. Don't fantasize that for a second. Relationships protect people from maturation. They don't encourage maturation. Very rarely. Very, very rarely. That's why you can get people who go into a relationship at a certain age, and it's like they're in a time capsule, and then they get divorced. So they went in age 38, they divorce age 56, and there are certain ways when they come out of that relationship at age 56, they're still 38 years old. There's parts of them that didn't grow, that didn't develop, because they were protected from the real world. They were protected from pain. Pain and suffering leads to realization, leads to development and maturation, and you can avoid it in a relationship. So if you guys are looking at getting into a relationship with somebody, you should set some boundaries early on, and you should experiment. Just say no. Just refuse. Don't fawn all the time and tell yourself it's chivalry. That's not chivalry, really. If you're always saying yes to every demand, that's just a fawning codependent response that's neurotic. Sometimes it's no. Sometimes it's, I don't have time for you right now. If you always have time for somebody, even if it's not a sexually intimate relationship, they're going to lose respect for you over time, because you're communicating, I have nothing else going on in my life that is more important than chatting to you for a couple of hours. That's not good. Have somewhere to go. Have somewhere to be. Be busy. Be on a mission. Who was the speaker today that said about being on a mission? Somebody did. Somebody said something like that. It may have been AJ Cortez said, you should have a purpose. You should have a mission. If you don't, you're not attractive. You're not attractive to me. I don't I can feel guys who are rudderless and they're just like, hi, what? I'm like, okay. If you're on a mission, I can at least respect the fact that you have a purpose in life, that you have put a philosophy, you developed a moral philosophy. You didn't just leave it in your journal. You had the will and the intent to put it into action. What was your question, and did I answer it? It was a good answer? Good. I'm at that stage of sleeplessness and caffeine where I don't even know. Yes, sir.
So you said something that kind of just hit me earlier about fawning, right? Mm-hmm. Which basically, as you said, simping, mm-hmm. right? So you see all these like Instagram models and girls or whatever on the social media. Mm-hmm. They just got all these simps, and mm-hmm. as a guy in the dating world, like there's zero simping on this end. I don't be simping, yeah. But I can tell when I see how these women act on the internet and in real life that they're used to dudes simping, mm-hmm. so there's friction when I don't comply that behavior. Mm-hmm. So my question is like, is this simping really like for the dudes? Is that something like they didn't get something from childhood and that's why they're like trying to get this validation from women? You know what I'm saying? Which then thus leads to this like kind of development of narcissistic behavior, or what's the origin of simping on the men's side? You know what I'm saying?
It could be. It could be childhood trauma, but there's an expression to a carpenter: every problem is a nail and every solution is a hammer. I wouldn't want to be that guy who applies like a deep-seated psychological childhood trauma to everything that there is. I just think we live in a simp society. It's a simp culture. Women are the best thing in the world. Being young is the best thing in the world. Being beautiful is the best thing in the world. It didn't always look like this. Sometimes we had different cultural values. Wisdom was the greatest thing. Being a philosopher was the greatest thing. Or even like in a warrior culture, being the number one gladiator would have been the best thing. Now it's youth and beauty and sex and instant gratification. I do sound like a middle-aged curmudgeon, don't I? I really fucking do. I'm turning into my grandfather. I referenced Patrice O'Neal before. I highly recommend you guys look him up. All of his interviews are on YouTube. There's a documentary about him. A fan made one. It's well worth watching. He said of women, he called it the sickness. He said when they have the sickness like this, it's not their fault. It's our fault. We make them sick. Simps make them sick. And every fucking man has simped at some point. We all simp. We all simp. Because it's powerful. If you're a heroin addict, if you were sat there as a heroin addict and you were jonesing for heroin and you wanted to talk to me about philosophy and I just had a little vial of heroin and I was just talking to you and we're going to talk about economics, you'd be talking to me, you'd be like, yeah, economics, oh yeah. I'm going to economics the shit out of that fucking heroin. You can't. Like, you're thirsty, you want, I've got it right here. And I'm just, yeah. So anyway, what do you think about economics? I'll be on Instagram with my vial like, oh, you can see my vial. No, stop. Why are you looking at it, you pervert? Why are you looking? You know, it's this stupid, but it infantilizes them. Then they act like dumb teenagers and they don't grow out of that dumb teenage attention-seeking mindset. So I think it is a cultural problem, and somebody was asking me about this before, like men also fall into it. You have good-looking guys who are on social media or on Instagram who are showing themselves naked, being the beautiful body that then men and women are supposed to pursue. It's always been there. I'm sure like in King Arthur's times there was fucking simps and you know, it's if you really crave something, you're going to give parts of yourself away in order to get it. It's an unfortunate thing because it keeps people sick. It keeps everybody in the environment sick. And one of the things I would say, by the way, guys, and every time I finish a talk, I'm like, fuck, you need to say this. There needs to be a concept of brotherhood the way women have sisterhood. Women back each other up so much fucking more than men do. We just leave each other in the field. I've seen situations.
Now available exclusively at 21 University. The all-new CPTSD Masterclass by Richard Grannon. This is the world's most advanced educational course on healing from complex trauma as a man. Learn more at the link below or visit 21university.com.